Welcome back to English with Tom and Julia, the podcast where we explore language, life, and the lessons that help us grow.
Today's episode is one of those conversations we all need to have, especially when things don't go as planned.
Yes, because sometimes you give your best. You pour your heart into something and still, it doesn't work out. And that hurts.
It does. But maybe that pain isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're learning faster than ever before.
Exactly. So today's episode is called Why Failure is Your Fastest Teacher. We'll talk about what failure really means, how to see it differently, and why the lessons it brings can transform the way you live and grow.
You know, Julia, I think most of us were taught that failure is the opposite of success. But really, it's part of success.
Yes, it's like success is a staircase, and every failure is just one step upward.
Exactly. But the problem is, we're afraid of that step because it's uncomfortable, because it bruises our ego.
Right. And society doesn't help either. We celebrate wins, promotions, awards, perfect outcomes, but we rarely talk about the 10 messy tries that came before.
So people end up thinking, if I fail, something's wrong with me. When in truth, failure just means you're in the process of learning something new.
Exactly. You're still in the classroom of growth. You haven't failed the subject. You're just not finished yet. Can I share a personal story here?
Of course, please do.
When I was 22, I auditioned for a big speaking competition. I practiced for weeks. I thought I was ready. But on stage, I froze. My voice shook, my mind went blank, and I forgot half my speech.
I've been there.
It was humiliating. Afterward, I told myself I wasn't meant to speak in public, that maybe I just wasn't good enough.
And what happened next?
Well, I stopped trying, for almost a year. But eventually, something inside me said, "You failed, yes, but you didn't finish." So I joined a small local club, started speaking again. Tiny audiences, small steps. And I slowly realized that the failure didn't mean I couldn't do it. It just meant I hadn't learned how to yet.
That's beautiful. Because failure doesn't say stop. It says start again, but smarter.
Exactly. And that competition I failed at, it taught me more about myself than any victory ever could.
You know, psychologists say our brains are actually wired to learn faster from failure than from success.
Really?
Yeah. When we succeed, the brain releases dopamine. We feel good, but we often stop paying attention.
But when we fail,
When we fail, the brain wakes up. It starts analyzing, adapting, adjusting. Failure triggers learning. It forces the brain to look for a better way.
so in a strange way, failure is like the body's emotional teacher. It's uncomfortable, but it's there to protect you from repeating mistakes.
Exactly. The pain is feedback, not punishment.
That's such a powerful mindset shift. To see failure not as something to hide from, but as something to listen to.
You know, most people don't fear failure itself. They fear what it says about them.
Yes, they fear being judged, being seen as not enough, or disappointing others.
Right. But that fear often keeps us stuck in comfort zones. We stop taking chances. We stop creating just to protect our image.
And the sad part is, we end up failing anyway. Not because we tried and lost, but because we never tried at all.
Exactly. Avoiding failure is its own kind of failure.
That's so true. Because at the end of the day, failure hurts for a while, but regret lasts much longer.
Let's talk about the lessons failure gives us. Because once you stop fearing it, it becomes one of your greatest teachers.
Yes, failure teaches humility. You realize you don't know everything, and that's okay.
It teaches resilience. You fall, but you get back up faster each time.
It teaches clarity. You start to see what really matters and what doesn't.
And maybe the biggest one? It teaches trust. Trust in the process and trust in yourself that you'll figure it out eventually.
Exactly. Because growth is not about never falling. It's about learning how to stand taller after each fall.
I read something once that changed the way I see failure. It said, FAIL stands for First Attempt in Learning.
I love that. It's so simple, but so true.
Because every skill, every success starts with a first, messy, imperfect attempt.
Yes, the first time you speak a new language, you fail. The first time you start a business, you fail. The first time you open your heart, you might fail. But that's how mastery begins.
Exactly. And the faster you're willing to fail, the faster you learn.
That's why we called this episode Failure is Your Fastest Teacher. Because the people who grow the quickest are usually the ones who fail the most, but refuse to stop there.
Yes, they turn every mistake into a map.
So, Julia, we've talked about how failure teaches us, but let's make it real. How do people actually start embracing it? Because honestly, when you fail, the last thing you want to do is smile and say, "Oh, great, another lesson."
Exactly. It's not easy. It's emotional. It's raw. You feel embarrassed. You start comparing yourself to everyone else who seems ahead.
Yeah, and that's the moment most people give up. They take failure personally, as if it's proof they're not capable, when in reality, it's just feedback.
That's why the first step is to expect failure. Before you even start something new, a business, a goal, a new language, even love, remind yourself, this will not be perfect. I will mess up, and that's okay. That mindset removes the surprise and shame.
Exactly. It's like preparing for rain before you leave the house. You don't get mad when it rains, you just open your umbrella.
I love that. Failure is the rain, not the storm. It's temporary, it passes, and it helps things grow.
Beautifully said. Now, the second step, reflect, don't react. When you fail, don't rush to fix or hide it. Take a moment to breathe and ask, what is this trying to teach me?
Yes, that simple question can change everything because it shifts your focus from what's wrong with me to what can I learn from this?
And the difference between those two questions is the difference between growth and guilt.
Exactly. When I failed that public speaking competition we talked about earlier, I used to ask myself, why did I mess up? Why can't I be better? But now I ask, what can I do differently next time? And that tiny shift turns pain into progress.
That's powerful. The third step, I'd say, is separate your identity from your results. You failed at something, but that doesn't mean you are a failure.
Yes, we all make the mistake of tying our self-worth to our achievements, but you are not your grades. You are not your job title. You are not the number of followers you have.
Exactly. You're a person, learning, evolving, trying, and that's enough.
And here's a fourth one. Celebrate small recoveries. We always celebrate the big wins, but rarely the moment we get back up. Every time you choose not to quit, that's already success.
That's so true. There's a Japanese proverb that says, fall 7 times, stand up 8. That's what real progress looks like. Not perfect performance, but consistent recovery.
Yes, and maybe we should add one more. Share your failures. Talk about them. Because the more we speak about failure, the less power it has over us.
Exactly. When you open up about your struggles, you give other people permission to be real too. It creates connection, not judgment.
You know what's funny? Some of the most successful people I've met are also the most open about their failures, because they understand that those moments built their strength.
Right. They didn't reach success in spite of failure. They reached it because of it.
So, to anyone listening right now, if you've failed recently, don't hide it. Write it down. Talk about it. Learn from it. You're not falling behind. You're collecting lessons that others are afraid to learn.
Beautiful. And remember, the goal isn't to avoid failure. It's to get so good at recovering that it no longer scares you.
Yes, when failure loses its power to define you, you finally start living freely.
And that's where real growth begins.
Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the proof that you're in motion, that you're brave enough to try and humble enough to learn.
Yes. It's the universe's way of saying, not this way, try another. Failure redirects. It refines. And it reminds you that growth never happens in comfort.
So if you're listening to this right now and you've recently failed, take a breath. You're not behind. You're just in training.
Exactly. You're not broken. You're being built.
Thank you for joining us today on English with Tom and Julia. If this episode helped shift your view on failure, share it with a friend who might need that reminder too.
And remember, the next time you fail, pause and say to yourself, "This is my fastest teacher."
We'll see you next time for another gentle conversation about language, life, and learning to grow with grace.
Until then, keep trying, keep learning, and never let failure be the end of your story.